Michael Vaughan. Michael Vaughan is going to be on the podcast. This is great. Former England cricket player, batsman, legendary. Of course, we know him for all his superb work he's done for the England cricket team, but he's now turned commentator, turned pundit, turned golfer. He was golfing with Piers Morgan and a load of other celebs as well recently. So this guy's amazing, and he truly loves the Indian cricket game, the global cricket game. He knows so much about what's happening. And what I like about him is he's just down to earth and cool, Michael, takes it all in his stride. He's got loads to say about social media, kind of, the attitude of players right now, the attitude of people right now. Spending time away from his family is one of the things that I wanted to talk about because it's a big part of my life and I want to know how he deals with it. He's on the move the whole time. So this is the brilliant Michael Vaughan talking about everything from cricket, the Ashes, the T20 World Cup, and life in general. Everybody, just tune in now. Focus your ears to the wise words of Mr. Michael Vaughan. Live with Michael Vaughan. What's going on? How are you, Mike? You all right?
I'm all right, Tommy. Nice artwork you've got in the background, I see. What is that?
See, I knew it. Forget the artwork for a minute, Vaughan. Look at the wall color, and don't think I haven't seen that background of yours before as well. And I'm like, oh, he's a man of teal. Like Superman was a man of steel, we are the men of teal. It's not quite as heroic, but it'll do. You haven't done your decor. You didn't do that. That's a Mrs. Vaughan job. Who done that? Who's done the background?
No, Mrs. Vaughan was involved. There's a few books that I have and a few bottles of wine. That's my contribution to the and a piece of art. Actually, there's a nice piece of art behind me that's mine. But the rest of it, you're right. The colours, the scheme, nothing to do with me.
I love it. We've got cricketing royalty here, but the first things first is the DIY in the background. These are the most pressing issues that I need to do. But I've got to say, on that note, obviously you've been watching all your stuff that you do and all the commentary that you do, and watching all the Crick Buzz stuff and everything else. I like your backgrounds. Where's the brick? Because this is the shelf background. Where's the brick wall background? That looks like a barn. That looks like the man house.
That's the bar. I have a bar, which it puts me in a bad light sometimes. So I think people think I have a drink problem, but it's not. It's for guests. Guests, when they come to the house, they sit in the bar, watch a bit of sport, and entertain themselves with a tipple or two. The drinks that you see behind me generally are not all the drinks that I drink. I have the odd one or two, but it's for guests.
Thou doth protest too much, Michael. I know. It's not much. You sound like my kid when he's got the cookies. It's like, no, it wasn't for me, because drinks. What happens is people come over and it's really for them, and it's like it's all right. Look at you, how very Indian of you, Michael, to kind of go, oh no, the drinks are for my guests. I'm a good Indian host. Are you part Indian now? Like, is that what's going? Because I reckon you must have converted to the Indian ways now, surely.
Well, I wouldn't say 100%. I love India. I love working with Crick Buzz. I love, commenting on cricket. India is the heartbeat of our game, the great game, whatever the format. India pretty much are always at the kind of heartbeat of the sport. The IPL is a monster. It's a monster that you could argue is getting a bit out of control, but it's still a monster. Virat Kohli, MS Dhoni, Sachin Tendulkar, these are gods of our sport. And I like the interaction with the Indian cricket fans. I think they don't quite get British humour. They don't quite get British opinion. And they tend to come back at you quite strongly if you say anything negative about the team, about certain individuals. You can't criticise Virat Kohli. It's impossible. You're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to criticise the Indian team. You can't criticise the IPL. But I think there's also quite a mutual respect from a lot of Indian supporters that they do like people that have opinion against the trend. I do think it's fair if we're going to have a bit of a period where this IPL monster, they keep calling it, has its power. It's also going to be able to be criticised as well if it's going to be the monster that keeps going forward. And that's my one concern about the game of cricket. The real big concern is that could become such a big monster that the international game starts to diminish. Very similar to what happens here with our football. The Premier League is so big
Yeah.
international football, away from European Championships, away from World Cups, really matter very little. It's almost like you all get a little bit of depression sets in when it's international week because we want the Premier League back on, and I do fear that in cricket it might be a similar story in a few years' time.
But is that okay? Is that not sport progression? I'm just kind of putting a spin on it. And when I think of, I don't know why I'm making this comparison. Go with me on this one. When Uber came along, all the black cabs in London, all black cabs everywhere, were like, but we've done the knowledge. You know, we're Test cricket. We are the knowledge. We're this foundation. We're part of, you know, the establishment. And you can't just come along with sat nav. And, you know, and that's kind of what the IPL is. You know, it's just kind of undercoming and gone, now we're going to make it snazzy jazzy. And even the 100's doing the same thing. It's making cricket so sexy that the unsexy version is hard for it to stand out.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm a you know, very much a person that likes to go forward. You know, I don't hugely matter about tradition and history. I mean, it's there, it's in black and white, and you read it and you love it. But I do believe that sport has to go forward. And, you know, what I get frustrated about more than anything is when I hear modern day players saying Test match cricket is the pinnacle. And yet we pretty much clearly know that it's not for a lot of them, but they just say it because they want everyone to hear them saying it. You know, if it is in 10 years' time that Test match cricket is not the pinnacle, you know what, we'll move forward. It's not a problem with me. But as we stand, I still believe Test match cricket is the format that does need protecting. It is the hardest format. It is the one that gets you your status. It is the one that gives you so much worth, you know, and reward. T20 cricket has been spectacular for the game, and it's a great format. I love it. I love the razzmatazz, I love the skills, I love all the shots, all the deliveries, the drama. It's magnificent. But I just hope that Test match cricket in 10, 15, 20 in our lifetime is still up there with the you know, the best format in terms of what we see. Whether that's going to be the case, whether it is going to be the T20 Uber that carries on and takes over the 100, maybe there's something better than Uber that arrives.
Yeah,
you know, maybe that is the 100, maybe it is T10. We'll have to wait and see. But I don't think I'm a traditionalist as much to say that I do hope that Test match cricket in our lifetime is still right at the top of the tree.
Yeah. How are you coping with it all? I mean, you know, we're hearing a lot about burnout from players, but I think there's burnout. It could be burnout across the whole industry of sports coverage. Like, look, even now, here you are with me, and I know you're doing Crick Buzz. I know you're doing commentary. I know you got other things going on. You got family, life, you know. Don't you find this kind of, I mean, there's a lot for me, and I'm doing it in a very, very small way, trying to cover the cricket. So are you all right with all, because there's too much cricket. Is it not too much cricket, Michael? Is there such a thing?
Yeah. No, yeah, I think you're absolutely right. There is too much cricket, but you know, I always believe if there's too much cricket, there's going to be more opportunities and jobs for everybody. So we shouldn't really complain about too much cricket. It's you know, it's hard when you're playing it. Obviously, it's difficult because there's pressures, but it's still only sport. You know, and we are very fortunate. Myself as an ex-player, as a broadcaster, to wake up pretty much most mornings. Yes, I have other business interests which take a bit of my time, but I wake up most mornings thinking about cricket. I mean, I'm very, very lucky. And all I say is to the players is that, yes, it's difficult. Yes, buyer bubbles are tough. They're incredibly tough. And you have to make sure that you're looking after every individual differently because individuals will react differently to the bubbles. But let's just remember it's cricket. You know, there are a lot of people out there a lot worse off than we are.
Yeah.
You know, and what these players are delivering is actually a huge amount of joy to those that are watching it, listening to it, talking about it. I think sometimes that gets lost and the players don't realise the amount of good stuff they're doing to people's lives away from the cricketing fraternity. And that's why I've been so strong about the Ashes, that will it go on, won't it go on? It will go on. And I'll be very proud of an England side that goes to Australia. I hope every single player realises it's a great opportunity. It's the Ashes series. It's the pinnacle of the pinnacle. And the amount of goodness that they will be doing to people's life by just arriving in Australia and playing, they probably don't realise. And when you're playing and when you're 25 and you're in that kind of, you're always in a bubble. You know, these are bio bubbles. But when you're playing for England or India, you're always in a bubble when you're a professional sports person because you can't go outside, because you can't get caught out. One or two do, and they get on the front pages for the wrong reasons. But when you're a professional sports person, you pretty much are always in a bubble because you have to be. You have to be professional. And it's not until you retire and you're probably 2 or 3 years after playing, you realise how special those moments are of being in a team, in the dressing room, in a team room, being on a bus, going to the ground, being in that dressing room, having won, lost. It's the best time of your life. And I will always try and remind the players that I know it's tough and I know it's not easy and I know you have to spend time away from your family. But when you sign a contract to be a professional cricketer, you're pretty much signing that contract to spend a lot of time away from home.
Yeah.
That is what you sign with yourself. It's not that and again, every individual is different in the way that they cope with that. But you're signing a professional contract with yourself saying, as a cricketer, you're not going to be at home much. So don't complain when you're away a lot, because that's the contract that you've signed with yourself.
But you're a northern lad. You know the values of family and, the importance of family, I suppose. So to be away, you also know, I mean, I can tell you, when I spend time away from the missus, you got to kind of come back and you got to make that good in terms of even conversation. I'm talking about conversation, about having the connection, knowing what's going on in their lives, because you can quite easily, as a sports commentator or even athlete, live a very separate life to family, and then other things wobble and burn out, and then you're on your own. It can, like I said, it can be lonely, and it can be hard to manage. Have you suffered with that, or has it been hard, or have you kind of like, no, I've got the balance right, and I know how to play it?
No, it's never easy. Obviously, when you leave your kids, my kids are 11, 15 and 17. This winter I'll go to Australia. They won't come because it's just too difficult to get them out of school, to get them into quarantine. How much quarantine will they have to do? Do I want my wife to have 3 kids in a room for a week, 2 weeks? No, I don't. So we've decided as a family that I will go to Australia this winter on my own. We'll have Christmas separate. But for this one-off period, I've decided with Nicola, my wife, that it's the best outcome. I want to go and work. I want to go to the Ashes. We're also very lucky in this era that we have things like this. We can talk to each other over Zoom, over FaceTime. You go back 20, 30 years, they couldn't even ring their families up. They couldn't ring up, through maybe get the landline from the hotel to the landline back at home, but very rarely that wasn't possible, or the expense of ringing from a hotel room back home, which is too much. So I think sometimes in this era, we seem to always talk about the negatives. We seem to always talk about how hard it is, how tough it is. Why don't we? Yes, it is tough, but why don't we always talk about how great it is to be a cricketer? How fortunate that we are to be playing the game of cricket, talking about game. How lucky we are that we do have Zoom, we have FaceTime, that we can communicate with our families when we're away, which other eras would not be able to do. I'm always looking at positives, and I do believe that the amount of negativity that's getting sent through to the next generation, I don't like hearing. I think we should always be sending the positive side of our job, and our jobs are up there with, you can tell me someone that has better jobs. Well, I've not seen it, because going to cricket, even doing things like this, just talking about cricket, I mean, it's one of the greatest jobs of them all. Playing the game, it's great. Yeah, it's tough. You get hit for a 6 or 2, but you know what? You're doing something that you set out when you're 11 years of age. That was just your hobby. You're being paid to produce your hobby. There's not many can say that in their jobs they're getting paid to produce the hobby. So I honestly think that we need to be more positive about what we do as professional sports people and how lucky we are.
Yeah, and I think it's exactly that. I don't know what's going on in the world. I don't know whether you look at the whole world in the same way, but there's just an inwardness at the moment. Everyone's like, oh, I've got this issue, I've got this ism, I've got this, and people can, and like you say, it's half full, it's negative, and it can take its toll. Okay, dare I say this? Is a new generation, even players across all sport, I'm not just saying cricket really now, is there a kind of a weakness, that lack of, Yorkshire substance, what it's about, like, is there a kind of, come on, there should be a point where we say, enough moping, you just got to get on, you just got to, it's like with the gym, you just got to turn up, don't think about the gym too much, just get there. Is the new generation a bit weak, Michael?
Well, I don't know, because I'm not around the dressing rooms. All I'll say is I think we're in a society where you can't be in the middle. It's like politics now. You've either got to be red or blue.
Yeah.
And if you're blue, everyone from the red hate you. If you're red, everyone from the blue hate you. You know, it's like the football. I call life now, it's like the football fan. You know, if you're a Man United fan, the whole world hates you. You know, it's like, come on. And if you have an opinion, you know, people will criticize you because of that opinion, because you vote for X. Or everything seems to be geared towards politics these days. I cannot stand politics. I can't stand it.
Why?
I turn the television on because I just think the talk, you know, whatever the party, I just think they lie.
Yeah.
All of them. And they try and convince you that X, Y, and Z is going to happen when they come into power, and it never happens. Yet you vote for what should happen. It's fraud in my eyes that they campaign whatever the party. We're going to deliver this. We're going to deliver that. We're going to deliver that, and they get into power, and then nothing happens from what you voted for. It's like going into a shop and you say, "All right, what would you like to buy?" Well, you'd like this shirt, and it's well, it's £40, but yeah, it's this. Oh, just give us 60.
Yeah.
You know, you wouldn't, would you? You wouldn't. It's just. And I think all of our, and it's probably because we've had 18 months where a lot of us have been locked up, and you're watching the news more than you probably ever have, and you can listen and hear most of it, and everything's an argument.
Yeah.
You can't hear or see. There's never a debate anymore. It's all shouting and screaming. It's like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
You know, both sides have got a little bit that you can take, and somewhere in the middle, that's probably where it should sit. But, you know, I do think there's a bit of that in society, and I think that's kind of the clickbaits. You know, it's because I honestly think we call it dry January. You know, when you don't drink in January. I think the world would be a better place if we had social media block out through January. The whole of the world in January block out. No one can go on social media. Nothing can happen. You can't be on any platform.
Right. Now, you say that because I know you love a bit of social media action as well, but because it can, that's exactly the thing about social media. I think social media gets bad press because it can be this terrible thing. It can be a wonderful thing. We know how it's used, but you're right. I think it's healthy to not be so outward, not be so everything's for sharing and talking and commenting on and getting involved with. Because you know, back in the day, what would happen? You'd go through life and you find your commonalities with certain people, and they are called your friends. And then you collect those and you build a circle of friends that you hang out with and have conversations with, people that might challenge or excite you or whatever, for you find funny or you're cool and you get on with, or you can drink gin with, Michael, right? But
yes.
And you avoid the others. Social media lets all the others get involved in your conversation, which we know kind of pros. And it, like you say, it becomes an argument, it becomes hard work. I'm like you, I just don't care to express a political opinion, because like with sports, there's a stat for everything. There's a stat for the other side, and politicians are very good at kind of going, yeah, but you say this, and but the 2016 figures say this, and you're like, well, we're just going to go round and round, and we're going to argue for no reason. So you got to steal the little joy in there.
It's like everything that goes wrong. It's like whoever's in power. Oh, it's Boris Johnson's fault. I said, well, he's only human. You know, how can he be for fault of everything? It's a strange world that we live in. I see all these kind of campaigns to, you know, what was it, a 24-hour block? You know, a blackout on social media. 24 hours. That's not going to work.
Nah,
that's not going to work. And I just think, you know, we talk about the mental well-being of people. I think a lot of it, and I'm fine with it. So anyone control me on social media. Honestly, I don't give a flying hoot. I don't care, and I really don't. And so for me, it doesn't affect me. But I can imagine there are people that get affected. But you know what? The people that get affected by it still trigger debate and trigger kind of argument. Yet they get affected by it, and I go, well, just don't do it. If it affects you, don't do it. Or come off it. You know, spend a month off it and give yourself, your mind, a little bit of freedom from what's happening on social media. But it's FOMO, isn't it? It's fear of missing out.
I was going to just
That's
say
exactly what social media. It's FOMO.
It's woven in. See, social media is now woven into everything. People say to me all the time, you need to tweet more, you need to Instagram more. I'm like, I've got nothing more to say. I'm a dad most of the time. I work out a little bit. I'm like, what am I going to, hashtag, you know, Jackie Potato and picture. I just like, it's hard work being across all of that. And it's all of that. It's the overshare of it. But what's nice is I think you got the balance right. You get your cutaways, you do your other things. What, you were playing golf. How was golf? You know, like getting away. And I'm sure people like Piers Morgan. Yeah, it affected the game. But, you know, to be around those kind of guys, it's a nice place for conversation, golf. It's not social media. You must have a good old chit chat with some of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of it's one of the reasons I'm really keen on golf is that I know that I'll have my phone in my bag, but realistically, you're just concentrating and you're staying in the moment of the golf game.
Yeah.
You know, and I do believe our society now is not great at staying in the here and now. We're so used to kind of thinking about what happened yesterday or in the past and what's going to happen tomorrow in the future. Whereas we actually forget that. Just sort this minute out. You know, think about what you're doing this minute and get through that and just carry on with that throughout the day and just think about it. And that's why I like golf, because you end up playing with three other people. There's usually a few caddies, particularly when we play at the Dunhill Links in Scotland. You end up with 8 of you just having conversations, and it's like, whoa, this is quite nice. Yeah. This throws me back to the 90s when you used to go out with friends and talk, whereas you go out with friends now and everyone's like, because again, it's FOMO, fear of missing out of a conversation or something happening on social media, a breaking story in the cricket world when you're out with all the cricket guys. It's like, oh, there's something happening in the cricket world. No one dare not look at their phone for 10 minutes in case that story breaks. Yeah, I do think but it's hard to do, but I do think a reset every year where 4 weeks, everything just goes, right, no one's going on it. No one's going on. Let's just have a breather. January off.
I think absolutely right. And it's little things. Even when I took the iPad away from the kids, you notice a change, a solid 100% change in attitude, conversation, vibrancy. You know, it's like, it's like my 9-year-old. It's like he's smoked a joint when he's been on the iPad for too long. It's like, huh? It's all a bit like delayed. It's like satellite delays. Is it similar?
I wouldn't have a clue what that feels like.
No, neither would I. I'm just from things I've read and movies. This is a really naive probably question, but being a batsman and a golfer, is there a similar motion, physicality on you, or is it like, no, you can't compare the two?
No, I mean, cricket is obviously a moving ball. Slightly different techniques in terms of dipping into it with your head. You try and keep your head still with a golf shot, but it's hand-eye coordination.
Right.
You know, most cricketers, you know, bowlers who can bat a bit, they all can play golf. I always get a bit frustrated when I arrive to play with cricketers and they say, oh, what's your hand? Oh, we're off 15. Like Joe Root, England skipper last week at the Dunhill, what, you're off 15 as a handicap? Smacks it 300 yards down the middle. I'm off 15. All right, okay. So that's blatant cheating. It's just impossible. And puts like Jordan Spieth. I'm like, how can that be right? No, cricket and golf. And I think what's happening in the last 18 months with these bubbles that the players have been in, they found that, you know, to get out, they've been able to go on golf courses, and that's been, you know, one kind of release from the pressures of playing. And more of them have got into, I think a few of them have got into this gaming. I'm not sure about that, but they've got into this gaming. And some of them have got so addicted to this gaming aspect of their lives that they just sit in front of screens all the time, playing, people watching them game. Again, I don't get that. I don't get that world. But, you know, this is what these bio bubbles have done to these players, that they've not been able to go out to normal restaurants, not been able to go to bars, not been able to go to cinemas. They've been in this kind of world of just the players, the management, and they've had to find things to do. So I do think that is a concern going forward, that these bio bubbles are potentially, and I'm not saying there's any addictions yet, but I did read a report today in one of the papers that the Mind charity, they said that they are seeing through the sporting sectors of what they deal with a lot of addictions coming from these bio bubbles. So that's something that we have to really take a close look at.
You seem so solid. You're grounded, and I you know, being a Brit, I can see the northernness in you, that kind of grounded, level-headed way. And obviously, being a batsman, you're focused. The way you play cricket in the past. Where'd you get all that from? How do you? Why aren't you gambling? Why aren't you addicted to? Why aren't you? You know, it feels like you a bit. You know, sorry, I'm going to just say, a bit like someone like Joe Root. You know, you're methodical, logical, controlled. It's hard keeping hold of your, I was going to swear there, it's hard keeping hold of your stuff, you know, keeping it all together, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I guess being brought up in Manchester to start with, Sheffield, I don't know of many Sheffield Mancunians who have got above their station, because you're not allowed to get above your station. You know, when you've got friends at school, went to a state school in Sheffield, still got all the same friends. You know, if I started to get too big for my boots or a bit cocky or flash, you know, I'd get put down within a minute. You know, and gambling, I'll have a little flutter at the races or on football matches, but you know, I have never won that kind of bet. So I'd always think to myself, why would I give my money away? I mean, what's the point in it? But I do understand sports people that finish their careers and don't have start to do things like gambling, probably a bit of drinking, and because they're looking for that buzz. And you know, it's so important that sports people they realise that you start your career and you end your career. That's a fact. You know, they're the absolute facts of your life. If you're a sports person, that you will start your sporting career and it will finish. And it's accepting quite early on in your sporting career while you're still playing, and when you're doing well, that it's going to come to an end.
Yeah.
And I think some sports people don't accept that it's going to come to an end, and then they kind of get to the end and they've not done anything about what they're going to do when they finish. And it's not necessarily doing something in terms of what career path you're going to take. It's accepting in your mind that you're going to finish. And it's accepting in your mind that there'll be a time when you are not that player and people will not look at you as that player, and you won't get asked in the street about your playing, and you'll have to find a new worth. I think there's loads of work that gets done with players these days, but the best advice I can give players of any sport is make sure you've got alternative hobbies, alternative thought processes of maybe, you know, looking at a different industry, really accepting that you've got to train yourself for a skilled person. It can't just be that you're just a batter all your life. That's not going to be possible. You know, a bowler all your life. Again, it's not going to be possible. So try and skill yourself into another career path while you're the player, because it really will. It's never easy when you retire, and it'll always take a while. But if you've got a different skill path that you can go into when you finish, you know, it makes it a little bit easier.
It reminds me a bit of like parenting. You know, when your kids all move out, and I've seen it with parents and my parents as well. And then all of a sudden they're just left on their own. They're like, all right, and what now? Because we've just all been about the kids, and they forget about their own relationship or things like that. And, you know, kind of, it's just it's that reassessing the values and kind of going, no, there's more to life than just that one thing you're focused on. And actually, I think what you're saying applies to many industries, even TV presenters who stop doing a show and then they're at home. You see them, boxers, you know, you see them ballooning weight, you see them not knowing what to do themselves. It's hard, and that kind of management process. But then, like I said, that's where the basic values come in, doesn't it, Michael? That's when it comes back to having your friends, having your family, having hobbies, doing other sport, other things, layering yourself up. But then on the flip side, you're told, hey, if you want to make it as a cricketer, it's got to be cricket, and nothing else matters. So it's a hard balance to strike.
Yeah, and I'm seeing more and more of the modern player, you know, being able to get into media earlier, you know, while they're still playing. Stuart Broad's done some good media work in the last couple of years. Jimmy Anderson's coming through, Alistair Cook. You know, so I can see I didn't do anything until I finished. So you know, I didn't want to be mixing with the media when I was still a player. Whereas now it seems to be a better surroundings for players to do that. Look, life's great, but life can be hard. You know, whatever you're doing, it can be hard, and you've just got to accept that and not get too low on the days that it is quite tough, and accept that there'll be tough days, tough moments. Whether you're a dad, whether you're, you know, working in whatever industry, it's not easy, is it? But you know, don't get down on yourself when you're having a tough day or so and throw the towel in. That's just, for me, throwing the towel is not acceptable. That's not life. You got to keep fighting, keep going, and those that are willing to do that and work hard, I think that's a word that and kind of a conversation that, again, I'll always have with players is work hard. You know, they'll see me doing stuff in the media. So, oh, you're very opinionated. That's, you know, you do it for headlines. I said, no, I don't do that for headlines. Whatever I say, I believe. You know, so if I criticise the team or a player, it's because I believe that player deserves criticising or that team deserves criticising. You know, if it grabs headlines, it grabs headlines. It's not, you know, it's part of the beast that you're in. It's the media, it's social media. It's not a problem, but it's hard work being a pundit. You know, you've got to be across everything. You've got to be studying the IPL. You've got to know what's happening in the Caribbean Premier League. Whilst you're doing a test match in the UK, you've got to know what's going around the world, because when you're on air, the conversation might go to that that competition, you've got, if you know nothing about it, you'd be like, oh, all right, okay, no idea, I've not watched it. And I can't believe that, people get away with, and I don't think many do, that say, oh, I haven't watched it, because in this series, no excuse, because it's all over social media. I mean, I've battered social media, but I've also said it's fantastic because you can keep up to date with everything. Every flying catch, every power hit, every unbelievable over in the IPL or it just comes up on social media, so you watch it. So at least it's in your head. So if the conversation goes to that, you can have half an idea what you know about. So look, it's life, and you've got to realize that it's great fun at times, it's tough at times. It's like an innings, isn't it? It's like a batting innings. You get 100, it's never easy.
No.
You have moments where it's tough and you go through them, and then suddenly you go boom, 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 4 for 4, and that's exactly like life.
That just because you touched on it there, and I was just thinking it as you were saying it. I think you enjoy the social media side. It feels like there are a couple of moments. I think. Do you know the phrase a karshi? Do you know what a karshi is? Have you heard of a karshi? Okay, it's a big spoon. It's a wooden spoon. It's the word. It's the kind of it's often used across India for like the stirring spoon. It's the big stirring spoon. So if someone's a bit of a stirrer, Michael, they're referred to as, oh, you're a bit of a karshi. And I wonder. Yes, you're right. You will give criticism where criticism is due, because that's what you do, a cricket commentator, and people can come in and out. It's a bit like stocks, see what's up and what's low, what's high, and all that. But do you enjoy being a little bit of a Kadashi for the Indian fans? Do you enjoy that kind of like, you know he's going to get a reaction? Do you enjoy it?
Easy. It's the easiest gig in the world. But I have now and again sat with my friends, and they'll say, "How does it work?" And I said, "Look, I'll have a bet with you now that I can get 1,000 followers in 10 minutes." And they'll say, "What?" I said, "All right, 20 quid." And I'll just trigger a debate in India or criticize the pictures, and 1,000 followers like that.
Wow.
So a lot of the time that I do that, it's because I'm having a gamble or a bet with a couple of mates that I'm having lunch with. It's just it's
a bit of fun.
I what's it called? What am I good? What is
it? You say I'm a Kadashi.
Kadashi. Well, there you go.
Karshi. Karshi.
Karshi.
There you go. That's what you are, Michael.
I'm a Karshi. Perfect.
I love it. Thank you for declaring it. That's it. That's my clip sorted for later on. Brilliant. We can find it right. How exciting is it right now? Because you're obviously the world you're living in is that right in between many worlds, like you say, Caribbean Cup, is India for the IPL, UAE for the T20s, and everything else that's coming up there now, and obviously English cricket. It must feel like you're a bit of a global citizen now. You're not English Michael Vaughan. You're kind of the world's. You're owned by everyone. You're getting recognised by everyone all over the world.
Well, I think cricket has become such, again, through social media, we've all become very opinionated, if you like, through the likes of Crick Buzz, the BBC that I work for, Fox in Australia. I love going down to Australia every winter as an overseas broadcaster. Whoever Australia play, I'm there. Obviously, this winter with the Ashes, it'll be great. Hopefully England can put up a decent show and it'll be a close series. But I think what we are seeing over the last few years is incredible drama.
Yeah.
If you go back to the World Cup final, the drama of that day at Lords, I've never witnessed anything like that in my sport. People always say, 2005, it was similar. I didn't feel it as similar when I was playing as I did as a broadcaster in 19. Some of the test series that we've had, India and Australia last winter, the chase in Brisbane on the last day was incredible. The series that we've just had here in the UK with India, right? India decided to disappear for the IPL. That's my honest opinion. Mental health was given as the excuse for that last test being abandoned. Well, I've not heard much of the mental health in India, in the UAE since the IPL started. So it's quite clear from me. And again, I'll get criticised for it, but that last test match should have taken place. Without any question, it should have taken place. India should have played the game. And if there was 4 or 5 players that weren't willing to play, they had a squad of 24, 25. They should have had 11 play that test match and seen the series through. England then decided not to go to Pakistan. England pulled out of South Africa last winter. I didn't agree with that at all. I was a little bit more sympathetic with the Pakistan situation because, when security say can't be 100% sure that you're going to be safe, I'm not too sure whether I would have gone to Pakistan in this instance with what's going on in Afghanistan. But again, that's a debate. But I do think we've got,
Do you feel for Pakistan? Sorry, quickly, Michael. Do you feel for Pakistan in that respect? They're desperate to try and get their game up and running. There's such great quality in their squad. It must have been heartbreaking for Pakistan to know that England are pulling out.
Yeah, New Zealand on the day. New Zealand were there. They prepared. They were on the way to the venue, and suddenly they pull out of the series. That's awful for Pakistan, and they're a great cricketing nation. And I hope, and I honestly say, I would love to go there. I'd love to go there and broadcast. I hope they can get it back. I have a sneaky suspicion that they're going to do something in the T20 World Cup. I've got a sneaky suspicion that they might have whether you can call it the final laugh, I'm not too sure, but I've got a sneaky suspicion about Pakistan with the wickets that I'm seeing in the IPL and the UAE that could suit their style of play. I hope they do something. They're a great cricketing nation. But over the last 18 months of the pandemic, we've seen incredible cricket.
Yeah.
So all the talk of the bubbles being tough, and of course they have been, the players have produced magic. And I'm sure we'll see more magic towards the end of the IPL. We'll see more magic in the T20 World Cup. And I've got my fingers crossed for a tight Ashes series. What the game really needs is a humdinger of an Ashes series in Australia, because England haven't competed there for the last two series. Lost 4-0, 5-0. They won in 10-11, lost 5-0 in 6-7. So 3 of the last 4 series, England have been absolutely blown away. And they could get blown away again if they're not careful. But I just hope it's tight, and I hope we get down to that last test. I hope it's in Perth if things change there, and England have still got a chance of getting something out of that series.
The key question about that series is, on Christmas Day, which of the England players will you be having your turkey with, Michael Vaughan? Because you're all on your lonesome. You will come down in your gym jams. Who's going to put a present under the hotel tree for you? Who will you be with? Who will you be with on Christmas Day if you're not with your family?
I reckon I've got the shortest of short straws, because I'm going to be in trouble. I reckon I'll be with Ian Botham.
Oh no! What's he like?
I'll be with Ian Botham. I reckon I'll be with Adam Gilchrist. I would think I'll be with Shane Warne. I'll be with Mark Waugh. I'm not too sure who else will get out from the UK, but I would think there'll be a big group. We'll have the family with them with the times that we're in. So we'll create something. We'll have a load of lobster, a load of wine. And we'll get to bed early, ready for the Boxing Day Test match.
Okay, I love it. In my head, it's a massive sleepover as well. So like Ian's waking up the first and he's like, oh, can we go downstairs yet? And you're there kind of going, no, not yet. Wait, we have to open our presents later. I can picture you all in your pajamas all together. It sounds like an awesome Christmas day. And obviously, winning the Ashes will be, I suppose, the best Christmas present right now after everything.
Well, all I ask is England still in it by Melbourne. That's all I want. I don't want it to be 2-0 going into Melbourne. I want it to be 1-1, or I'd accept 1-0 maybe. But I'd love it to be 1-1 going to Melbourne with everything still to play for. That would be the best Christmas present that we could have.
And are we? You'll know the latest on all this. Are we hoping that the squad is all back firing, and players are more importantly the players that expressed concerns around their own mental health and mental well-being? Are we hoping that the England squad's all back together by then? Or are you going into the Ashes in your mind knowing that you might be down a couple of people, even Moeen Ali?
Yeah. Well, Moeen Ali, he's retired, so there won't be Mo in there. Jofra Archer's injured. I can't imagine Ben Stokes is going to be there. Chris Wokes, Joss Butler, Johnny Bairstow, David Milan, those players that are in the T20 World Cup that will be in the Ashes series. I guess there's a question mark over those because of the amount of time they're going to be spending away from home. But I will say I think Australia are doing everything they can to make sure that getting the families in will be as comfortable as they possibly can make it. Obviously, they'll have to do some quarantining, but I'm led to believe it'll be in a vineyard in the Yarra Valley near Melbourne. So I would think that if they deliver that, and they can deliver as comfortable a way of getting all the families and kids in, I would think that most of the players will go. I can't imagine that many will pull out if they get that into place. When they say, they're away from home for a long period of time, they are, but they're cricketers.
Yeah.
Again, I'll go back to what I said at the start. You know, you sign that contract with yourself that you're going to be away from home. That's the nature of our beast, I'm afraid. That's what we do. We don't spend much time at home when you're an international jet-setting cricketer. That comes when you finish. I get a bit of time at home now, not a great deal, but a lot more than when I was a player. You know, but when you're a player, that's what you do. You just get on a plane, you play cricket. You get on a plane, you play cricket. You get on a plane, you play cricket. That's your job.
But when you come home, surely the Vaughan family are there. It's like a postcard, you know, it's like a Christmas card thing, the welcome, the favourite meals on the table. Or is it like, what happens? What happens with you? Are you met like, hey, daddy's home? Or is it like, yeah, whatever, Dad?
No, the 11-year-old will be bonkers. She'll be very excited. The 15-year-old is getting to the stage now that he just give me the thumbs up. 17-year-old just about to do a driving test, so she probably will just send me a WhatsApp saying, "Hi, Dad, glad to see you home." She probably won't be here. and the wife will probably go, "Oh, you're back."
Oh, oh, you live here? Does he still live here? Have you still got a tenancy agreement? Yeah. It's great. Just finally,
what are you doing here?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, get out. I quite like having the bed to myself, is what my wife says when I'm away. It's like, oh, it's quite nice. And the T20 World Cup, finally, because that's obviously just around the corner. England's chances on that, Michael, because a lot of England players are playing, out in the UAE. They're familiar with the format now. T20 is just as much English as it is Indian or anywhere else.
Yeah, well, there'll be hot favourites. You would say with India, I think the West Indies are going to look a team that could go all the way. Pakistan, because of the spin elements of what the UAE pitches will provide. I always look at New Zealand. I mean, they lost the World Cup final in 19, and people will say, "Oh, they punch above the weight." Well, they don't. They're just a good team. Very, very brilliantly led by Kane Williamson and co. I don't know. I mean, Virat's last tournament as T20 captain. You look at India and England, the two teams that will be favourites, and neither of the teams really have got players in great form in the IPL. England's players have not been any kind of. Jason Roy's got a few runs, but Liam Livingstone's been dropped by Rajasthan. Owen Morgan's not got a run for KKR. There's not that many Butlers not there. So there's not many actually England players that are doing much in the IPL. And the same for India. I'm amazed they haven't picked Chahal.
Yeah,
and Harshal Patel. I mean, maybe they'll change that over the next few days, because if you've got players that are playing so well in the conditions that the IPL are being played in, which the World Cup are going to be played in, I think I'd be making that change if I was India. I'd be bringing Chahal into the squad, and I'd bring in Harshal Patel. He looks an outstanding seamer for T20 cricket.
Lovely. No, we're dead excited by it as well. What's your plans for the day? Because I want to know what the schedule's like. What's the standard?
Right, Today went school run. I did an hour in the gym. I'm now obviously doing this. I've got another Zoom call to do now, and then I'm going to have my hair cut. Then I'm going for lunch. Then I'll pick the kids up, and I've got a dinner tonight. I've got to go and do some talking at a dinner, friends' charity dinner. So
is there
quite an easy day.
Is there a set speech, or do you have to adapt it every time? You got.
I adapt. I try and consider the audience to see if it's a lads audience. I go, yeah, I can butter this up. If it's a mixed audience, I play a few different cards.
See, assess the pitch. That's what you're doing. What's the track like?
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Hey, nice one, Michael. Honestly, I really appreciate you making the time. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Keep enjoying it. I hope to meet you soon at one of these games, some of this coverage, and enjoy Australia. Enjoy Christmas Day with you and both of them.
Thank you, bro. If I survive that, I've done well.
You can do anything. Nice one, Michael. Cheers, mate. Thank you. I heard, genuinely, this is just as a fact, I heard that if you hit subscribe to this podcast now, if you have subscribed on Apple or on Spotify or on JioSaavn or wherever you are listening right now, if you are subscribing and getting that on a regular, which means you get the little notification when the new episode comes out. Fact. This is a fact. Don't tell no one else's. If you hit subscribe, you can eat as many jalebis as you want and you will never put on weight. I know. I don't understand the logic. It makes no sense to me. I mean, how's a podcast relate to the DNA way in which your body breaks down jalebi sugar stuff running through your... I don't understand, but what I do know, it's a little cheat to life. So if you like jalebis, then you should hit subscribe to this podcast. Oh, and follow us on social media too. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Follow us. Eat jalebis. Be happy.